I'm convinced that I'm never going to be able to make a year-end list for 2020 because of the fact that artists keep dropping albums that I want to listen to. Ah well, nothing better to do than review them, right? Eminem is back with a brand new reissue, Music to Be Murdered By Side B. This is the new deluxe edition of legendary Detroit rapper Eminem's Music to Be Murdered By album that he dropped back in January. Depending on who you ask, some have been going as far as to call it his 12th studio album, but I think it's hard to properly label it as that. Rather, this is just a reissue with enough new content to feel like a separate album, in the same vein as Lil Uzi Vert's Lil Uzi Vert vs. the World 2 and Nav's Brown Boy 2 that dropped earlier in the year. Big difference is where Lil Uzi Vert released his album a week later and Nav released his album just 3 days later. Eminem had the decency to wait 11 months before dropping a whole new set of music on us. Now, I've said this before, but I like Eminem a lot more than many people give him credit for these days, and I personally enjoyed Music to Be Murdered By when it dropped back in January, so I was okay with Eminem dropping something new on us in that style. So long as he continued to improve on the flaws of that record, there was bound to be some good stuff. This reissue is 16 tracks in 52 minutes, though it is bloated a tiny bit by some skits and interludes, something Eminem of course is known for. There are the typical Alfred Hitchcock vocal passages that were present on the last record, and while I'm not usually big on skits on any album, the Key skit was actually very entertaining. Eminem's voice he goes into is hilarious, and it honestly got more than a few laughs out of me. It's absolutely fucking stupid, but in the best possible way. As for the record itself, I think this is some of M's best material in a really long time. It's most enjoyable when judged independently from the first side of Music to Be Murdered By, but regardless, it feels like M actually heard out some of the criticisms of his last few projects and actually worked on them. One of the things that really helps the album is that the production is some of the best M has been on top of in a while. Side A of this project already had some good instrumentals, but it feels like this particular set of music took that up a notch. I love the tasteful sampling of classic Hitchcock music on Alfred's theme, and the way it's interwoven with the trap drums is pretty great. Even a track like Tone Deaf has a really interesting bass groove to it, and also the beat switches on Nat, hell yes. Killer also has one of my personal favorite beats on the album. It's got that banging feel of something like a club anthem, and M rides it pretty much perfectly. Speaking of M's performances, I think his flows and technicality throughout this album is some of the best that I've heard out of him in a very long time. One of the most common criticisms I've heard of modern Eminem is that he focuses way too much on fast and flashy flows, and yeah, I kinda get that. And on this record, M still has a few moments where he raps somewhat fast, like on Book of Rhymes, Favorite Bitch, Nat, and Killer, but I wouldn't say those completely overtake the album or distract much. And even on songs like these, M's performances feel a lot less angry. I know one thing a lot of people don't like about modern Eminem is that he sounds so angry all the time, but thankfully I don't find that here. I also really enjoyed several of the choruses on this a lot more than some of M's previous records. Those last few albums have had some downright awful hooks, like on Venom and Stepdad, for example, but here even the weakest hooks still did the job. I'd say the only tracks I wasn't as crazy about on the album were Tone Deaf and She Loves Me, but even the choruses on these tracks aren't annoying, especially when they're countered by tracks with catchier hooks like Higher, Killer, and Discombobulated, the latter of which is easily one of the strongest tracks on the record. It's crazy because it really felt like there was not a single skip on this album. Even though I enjoyed Kamikaze way more than most others and gave it a very positive review, there were some tracks on that album that I would definitely skip. But while listening to Side B, I really didn't have any moment where I felt like I wanted to hit the skip button. As far as lyricism, M obviously has his cheesy lines here and there. I think that's what we kind of expect at this point. But there's not much here that's leaving me cringing or angry like some of his past few albums. And I feel like that stems from two particular things. For one, Eminem has a bit more self-awareness this time to know that some of his bars are cheesy, which allows him to have a little more fun with them, instead of getting angry and treating them like lyrical, miracle, spiritual kind of lines. And also there are points where it feels like potentially shocking bars are set up a bit better to the point where they aren't as hard to handle. Even some of the goofy bars actually got a bit of a chuckle out of me. There's a line on Alfred's theme where he says he'll pee on your head like a Phillies hat. I'm sorry, I know that's corny, but I'm a Phillies fan, so I can take my Phillies hat and salute Eminem on that one. I also got a bit of a laugh out of the line on Zeus where he says she hates me, but she listens to Tekashi. I'm sorry, 6ix9ine's an idiot and it's fun to clown on him. Lyrically, I think it's also nice that M doesn't sound as bitter about the people that criticize him. Yes, there are a few light bars about his critics, but nothing that sounds like M just getting angry at nothing. And he even lampshades this a bit on Book of Rhymes where he says he's mad at the wind, he's in a nuclear war with a cloud, he's yelling at it again. It's good to see Eminem actually having some fun with the words that he writes. The features also do a pretty solid job too. Skylar Grey handles the chorus on Black Magic, and while her choruses can be a bit inconsistent on Eminem songs, this one has an interesting dark sound to it that I quite enjoy. DJ Premier does some production work on Book of Rhymes, and he helps create one of the more lavish grand beats for Eminem to rap over, with a few cool scratches added in on the chorus and some nice variations in beat switches. Ty Dolla $ign also sings the hook of Favorite Bitch, and even though it's not a typical sounding chorus out of Ty, it actually works well for the dark vibe of the song. Sly Piper and Dr. Dre appear on Guns Blazing, and Sly's vocals are very smooth, while Dre's slow flow fits perfectly over the bass drum heavy beat of the song. Sly Piper also reappears on Higher, and while his appearance is minuscule, I like how his smooth vocals and decent flows help mirror the insecurity that M feels late in his career. Madge also sings the hook on These Demons, and his auto-tune vocals add a bit of a hazy feel to this socially conscious song. And Zeus features White Gold singing the chorus from Eminem's perspective, and he's a perfectly charismatic presence on this subliminal-filled track. The album also tops off with Discombobulated, which is definitely a huge high point on the record. The track perfectly embodies the Eminem that's having fun with the music, and with the bright instrumental, this feels like a great throwback to Eminem's older sound. It's honestly the perfect way to end things off. Overall, I'm very impressed by Eminem's new set of music. If this was released as its own album, I would honestly be saying it's Eminem's best full-length record in a long time. As it is, it's merely a deluxe edition reissue, but regardless, M sounds better than ever on this new expansion to Music to Be Murdered By. I think he continues to receive very colorful production to work with, and the best part is that it feels like Eminem's actually having fun with it. Even when he answers his critics a bit, it feels like he's not letting that overtake the album or overtake his mood. This doesn't sound like Eminem getting angry or feeling like he needs to hit back wherever he can. He's enjoying himself, and that results in his most focused, solid project in a very long time. Taken as a second part to Music to Be Murdered By, this is a strong improvement that surpasses its predecessor in almost every way. Taken on its own, this is Eminem's finest project in a very long time, and it's easily one of the best of his late career records. Overall, I'm a bit surprised by this, but I'm definitely going to say that Eminem's Music to Be Murdered By Side B is going to get an excellent rating from me. Great new set of tracks. Eminem did a fantastic job with this. It's kind of just a shame that this is a reissue and not actually Eminem's 12th studio album, but here's hoping the improvement Eminem showed on this reissue shines through when he does come through with that eventual 12th studio album. As it is, definitely a great set of songs. Check it out if you haven't already. But that's just my opinion on this project. What did you guys think about it? Did you love it as much as I did? Did you hate it way more than I did? Were you just completely indifferent towards it? And where would you put this compared to Eminem's post-Prime albums? Whatever your thoughts are, whatever your opinions are, leave them down in the comments. Let's keep this civil and have some fun as we like to do. If you guys want to hit like and subscribe, thank you. If not, it's no big deal. I totally understand and won't beg you for it. And if you guys want to support my passion for content creation by subscribing to my OnlyFans, where I create exclusive music review and poetry content for $4.99 a month, the link to that is in the description. Again, it's no big deal if you can't or don't want to. I totally understand, and I appreciate anyone who is able to. Now, hopefully this is my last review of 2020, and now I can get into doing the year-end lists. Who's to say, maybe someone could surprise this week, but hopefully my lists will be the next set of videos that you see from me. So stay tuned for those, but until next time, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.